Pride Month is a time where we celebrate the LGBTQ community. It can also be a time when big conversations happen, conversations about identity and self-expression, and experts say the environment surrounding those conversations can be crucial. Tara Lombardo is joining me here in studio. She is the executive director of the Institute for Human Identity to offer some tips about how to approach these conversations. Tara, we appreciate you being here. You know, these conversations, let's say, they can be uncomfortable, right, for all parties involved. How do you recommend that someone show support, regardless of sexual identity or gender, to another person when having these conversations?
Absolutely. I think the first thing that we have to do is create a sense of safety in conversation, in our relationships. I think a lot of people want genuine connection, but we can't establish that without creating a system of safety first. One of the ways that the LGBTQ community works in terms of conversation is related to pronouns. You can ask somebody's pronouns or how they identify. You can introduce yourself in terms of pronouns as well. It's really about establishing safety and open communication.
Yeah, I want to ask about those pronouns. I know it's something that for people who they don't matter to, they can really struggle to understand why it is so meaningful to some people. How can we help those people understand, those people who may be struggling to understand their significance, why they are in fact so important to others?
Essentially, pronouns and the identification of them are bids for connection. When somebody gives you their pronoun, they're opening up their life to you. In a similar way that when someone gets married and changes their name, we don't struggle with their maiden name. So it actually helps essentially to create an environment of acceptance, to create an environment of support, and ultimately to create an environment of safety.
Yeah, speaking about that environment of safety, you say that 90% of issues that LGBTQ plus people bring into treatment are unresolved family issues around identity. Talk about that necessity for creating safety and how parents especially can do that for their children.
One of the ways that parents can do that for their children, and again, being a therapist and working with therapists, we get all the information regarding what parents said correctly, what they said incorrectly, where they validated their kids, where they didn't. And of course, these are people as adults. So they remember these dynamics, they remember these conversations. And it's really, really important that in childhood, you're essentially on the ground floor of someone's development, and you have ample opportunity to discuss not only who they are in terms of their sexual orientation or their gender identity, but who they are in terms of what they want to be and what kind of person they're like. So it isn't just about that, it's about many other things as well.
So if a parent is watching this, or if anyone is watching this and thinking back to a conversation on this topic that they had, that they're maybe regretting or they're not proud of the way they handled it, how can they kind of work to repair the situation going forward and re-breach that topic?
I think the first thing that they could do is apologize for the breach, identify that they made that mistake, and move on, move forward. I think the internalization of wanting to connect with another person, especially your kid, is worth it. These are relationships that are worth having and worth maintaining. And so in those instances, an apology, an identification, and moving forward is where you go.
Yeah. You know, if a parent is watching this and maybe suspects that their child is a part of the LGBTQ community, should they bring that up or to their child, or should they wait for their child to bring it to them?
That's a great question. I think in many cases, again, going back to this concept of safety, you can ask your child how they identify, but most likely they're not going to tell you right away unless safety and open communication is established. My advice there would be to essentially show your support in other ways first. That could be by attending LGBTQ events. It could be by hanging a flag outside of your house. It could be by attending a parade. I think creating that environment first will allow you then to go in to have that kind of conversation. The community itself is deeply attuned to safety, and especially in conversation. We have a very keen ear for what people say and how they say it. And so my advice, in addition to creating that, is to try again. Try multiple times. The first time they might not say it.
Even just the way a child or anybody hears you talking about other people can really impact the way they feel. We know kids, they hear everything, right?
They do. Yes, they do. I have two, and they certainly do. Yes.
Well, Tara, we really appreciate you coming on, giving that advice.
Thank you.
And thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.